Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to look at my 3 Euphorbia Bonsai. My crown of thorns, my killer Euphorbia, and my larger leaf crown of thorns also. Each of these bonsai are quite different. Euphorbias as bonsai, they do grow to a tree-like form in nature. And I think we'll start today's video by having a look at some various different Euphorbias in a tree-like form. Before I begin to work on my bonsai, I always like to look at the form of the full-size trees in nature to get the basic structure and the characteristics that make that tree look like that tree. So I've done that for the Euphorbias now, and you can see by the photographs that the structure is generally kind of upright, and some of them are quite wild. They don't really have that structured formal bonsai form. They're kind of a wild looking tree form in nature. Here is a look at my crown of thorns bonsai, and you'll notice that the canopy is kind of getting out of shape. It's losing its symmetry. So I wanted to check on the internet at pictures of tree size Euphorbias just to see if there's any asymmetrical ones, and there was a few, but generally they're pretty symmetrical, the crowns on them. My Euphorbia has been flowering the entire summer. It started in early summer, and you can see there's more flower buds forming on it. The tree grows a bit, flowers, grows, flowers. So it's quite an attractive plant to grow as a bonsai. One of the possible solutions to the asymmetry is to change the front of the tree. So I could change it to here. So the dense part's coming forward, it's a little more symmetrical left to right. Or, I could just embrace the asymmetry. Yeah, it's a tough call. Do I prune this branch back? Yeah, and it's a difficult tree to style because, in nature they're very cluttered like this on the interior. This is pretty close to the full-size tree-like form you would see in nature. So I don't want to mess with that. A lot of people have telling me I should thin the branches out and get it a little more structured. But I don't think that would look like a Euphorbia. I think you don't want to take a Euphorbia and make it look like a traditional bonsai. I don't think that's the thing to do. So I don't, think I want to change too much on the styling of it. It's possible the front could change with the next repotting. But today I do want to do a little trimming. There's some vertical shoots in here that could come out just to thin out the canopy a little bit. Any areas where I've got too many branches coming from one spot, I could thin it out a bit. So I don't think there'll be a lot of work on the tree today, just some minor pruning. Okay, I'm going to begin the pruning work. So the sap of a Euphorbia is poisonous. So be very careful you don't get the sap in your eyes. It could cause temporary blindness and possibly even permanent blindness. So be very careful of that. And just try not to get it on your hands. It's probably a good idea to wear gloves, but I'm just going to be very careful. So I'm looking for areas where there's shoots growing upwards that I can thin out. So here is a spot you can see there was an upwards branch I pruned off short, and I got 2 new branches growing that are also upright. And I don't think I want any branches kind of growing kind of back in towards the center of the tree. So I'm going to take out this one at least. And there's that white sap. So don't touch that. And I'll wash the scissors after. And then I'm not sure if I want to keep this upright one here. I want to kind of save my upright branches for the middle of the tree and have these outer ones kind of fanning outwards. So I'm going to take off that one also. Like that. And you don't really have to clean up stubs and that, because in nature you get a lot of dieback on these euphorbias and they always look pretty rough in photos. You know, they're always on the verge of survival. Conditions are good, they grow, and then you get the dry season and branches die back. So yeah, they're pretty usually rough looking from what I've seen in photos. Okay, so that kind of opens up a bit of space there. There's a branch actually growing back into the middle here I'm going to take out. So that one there. And there's a lot of thorns on these, so you have to be pretty careful with your fingers also. There's another upright one here, but it comes from a branch here, and I can't really prune that off, so I'm going to leave that for now. There's an upright one coming up the middle, which is nice, and I'll keep that. I'm going to prune off an upright one here. There's an upright one here I can take off. I don't mind if the branches are fanning out, but I just don't want them absolutely vertical. It looks a little strange and not very flowing. Here's another upright one I can take off right here. Big one. So quite a large branch. There's an upright one coming from in here I can take out. Little thinning. There's an upright one in way deep in the interior I can take out, coming up from a lower bottom branch. There's kind of a crossing one in here I can take out. A little one like that. When I look underneath, I can see the structure of the tree really well. You can really see what's going on. I think this upright one here can come off. So this branch here, I've got two branches fanning out on this lower level, and then I've got a vertical section and then some nice branching up top. It's going to be very difficult to prune this away, but I think I need to make room for branches in the higher branches to grow into that area. So even though it's a really good looking branch, it's going to come off. So you can see, yeah, it was quite a nice developed branch. And you can see how it opens up this space now, so I can get branching coming off of here that will grow in that place. There's a little upright shoot here I can take out. It's kind of congested in here. I have three branches growing from one spot, so I'll take out the middle one. Well, not the middle one, the one that's growing in between two major branches. The one that's cluttering it up in that area. Down low here I have a vertical branch I can remove. Like that. There's a stub I can remove here. It was a fairly big stub. So again on this branch, I said there's a well-developed vertical branch here that could come out. So again, a difficult cut because it's got, well, maybe it doesn't have a lot of ramification. It's coming off. It's a vertical shoot on a lower branch. Had a little bit of subdividing. And then there's another vertical one here I think I'll take out. I think I maybe talked about that branch already and was going to keep it, but then decided not to. There's a branch growing back in towards the tree here. I'll take that out. Like that. There's a vertical one there I'm going to remove. Like that. So you can see how it's opening up the canopy a bit now. It's not so cluttered. I think that's got most of the major problem areas with branches pruned up. So next, I haven't done any tip pruning, so I think that's next to kind of restore the shape. If you don't tip prune them, they just grow long, straight branches. So if you tip prune them, you get subdividing, you keep the plant compact, and you get more branching on it, so you get a fuller canopy. So, here I go. You can see there's some branches that start out horizontal and then they curve upwards. And it's quite typical on a euphorbia. Some euphorbias they call the candelabra tree because it looks like a candelabra. So, yeah, I don't think I want to lose that kind of style. So the tip pruning won't be, pruning really far back. It'll basically be just kind of pruning the tips. Unless, I want to shorten branches. So this is the major branch that created the asymmetry, so I'm going to prune it back. I do have two good shoots right back here, so I'm going to take that whole end off. Like that. So I've got two new shoots here. That will grow quite nicely. That helps with the asymmetry. This one, I'm going to prune it back to here. So here's my first big tip prune, cutting that off. So after pruning this tip, you'll activate buds that are dormant on that branch and it should create some more subdividing. It's been very successful on this crown of thorns in the past. My other crown of thorns, the one with the larger leaves and the whiter flowers, I pruned the trunk of it and it was not successful at all. It just died back and grew new shoots from the root base. So on this species, it seems very successful. There's a big shoot sticking up here. I'm going to prune back. There's one here. One sticking up here. So I'm basically kind of profile pruning here to keep my shape, my overall shape. I don't want it getting too far out of shape. So I'm just checking from all angles to make sure it kind of maintains an umbrella shaped canopy. Take this one back. This one could come back. This could come back. This one. I'll take this one back a little further. Take this one off. This one back. this one back. Well, that's got the shape, the overall shape, pretty good. I can take the tip off this one. Get this one back a little further, like that. Where that went. Okay, let's go down to the front view and I'll just check out the shape of it. Here's what I took off the crown of thorns today. So quite a bit. A lot of, branch tips and the upright branches. So let's have a look at the tree now. I'm not saying it was the orange cat that pushed my bonsai off the bench and smashed the pot the other day, but there he is in that spot. I think he's a likely suspect. Right, kitty? Yes. I think you're caught. You're guilty. Yeah. Blue Jade Bonsai emailed me last night with some sad news. Jerry Meislich passed away. Jerry wrote 2 bonsai books. He wrote Ficus, the Exotic Bonsai was his first book. And then he followed up with The World of Ficus Bonsai, sort of an expanded book of the original. So I was always hoping to meet Jerry one day, but I never will now. I did get to see one of his trees at the US National Show last year, so I was happy to see that. But yeah, Jerry, he was a big influence in the world of Ficus Bonsai, and I'm sad to see he passed away. The next Euphorbia I'll be working on is my other crown of thorns, and this is the larger leaf variety. Right now the leaves are small because these shoots are just growing in. So it was tall, and I thought, well, I better prune it. So I tip pruned it right here, and it still had some green leaves around the top, but they never sprouted branches or anything. It just, well, stayed, I don't know if it's dead or dormant, and then new shoots grew up from the root base. So it's quite an attractive plant, actually. If I prune this top leader off, I've got a nice little accent plant. So I'm going to check if this is alive, first of all, by pruning part of the top off. And if it's still alive, I'll leave it. If it's not, well, then I'll cut it down closer to the base here and let these shoots grow up and mature. My guess is that it is still alive because it hasn't shriveled up. So I don't know how to test this, if I should scratch it. I don't know if that'll work. Oh, okay, so I scratched it and white came out right away, sap. So this top is still alive. So I think I'll leave it and wait. There is some, I don't know if they're buds, but it's possible it could branch in the future. So I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. If I notice it shriveling up, well, then I'll cut it off. But for now, it's definitely alive because it's shooting out white sap from that little cut I made. So I don't think there's anything I need to do to this tree. Everything's fanning out nicely. It's a good looking plant. So I'll just leave it alone. Nothing to do to my Euphorbia today. I'll spin the plant around so you can see it from all angles. So here's maybe the front. right-hand side, the back, the left-hand side, and back to the front. I bought all three of my euphorbias from Belgian nurseries. They're located in between Kitchener and Guelph, Ontario on the highway there. And they sell a lot of kind of cool and unusual species of plants. So yeah, it's a really cool place. So in their cactus greenhouse, they have a full-size version of this euphorbia that grows right up to the roof of the greenhouse. It has a big, thick, woody trunk on it. They call it killer because it's very deadly, all the thorns and that on it. So they're selling cuttings of it. Some of them are quite mature. You can pay, I think there's some over $100 that you can buy. I think they're like $160 for the bigger cuttings. This one was quite a bit cheaper and it was quite small. So you can see on euphorbias when they begin, the trunk has inverse taper. They're very skinny at the base down here, and then they thicken up. But over time that corrects itself. It reverses, so the trunk is more of a even diameter. So that hasn't happened on this one yet, but I think it'll happen in the future. The full-size one at Belgian Nurseries had a beautiful trunk on it. It was just fantastic, a very woody trunk. So I don't really know if I need to do anything to this euphorbia today. I'm just having a look at it. There's some dried up, bottom branches here that I could remove, but I don't need to. I mean, it kind of adds to the character of the tree. It's been growing really well this summer. You can see all the new branches that have come out on top. The older branches are a little brown at the edges, but they're still green and producing energy for the tree. I could tip prune it, but I don't want to because, as I said, I want the trunk to thicken up. So I don't think there's anything I need to do to it today. I just had an inspection of it and everything's looking good. So here is a close-up look at Killer. There's the dried up branches underneath, the kind of interesting trunk that's getting woody on it, the new foliage up top, and the older foliage that's a bit on the brown side. Yeah, so we'll see how this develops in the future. I'm hoping to create a really nice bonsai out of it. And the full-size tree at Belgian, it's been pruned several times and it seems to bud back quite nicely, so I don't think it's a problem with this species. I keep my euphorbias on the dry side, so I let the soil go fairly dry, then I water them thoroughly, let them dry out again, and keep repeating that cycle. On sunny, hot days, you can water them more, they dry out quicker. On cloudy, cool days, you don't touch them at all with the water, you just let them be. I think they're quite cold tolerant. Like this has been outside and we've got down to 6 degrees Celsius, 6 degrees above freezing, and they survive without any problems. So I think as long as you don't let them freeze, I think they're okay. I wouldn't want to take them down any lower than about 5 degrees Celsius. I think that's kind of getting close. I mean, at 5 degrees Celsius, there is a chance you could get frost at those temperatures. So I don't think that would be a good idea, but I think you can definitely keep them on the cool side for the winter. And yeah, other than that, give them as much sun as possible in the summer, keep them nice and warm in full sun, water them when they need it. I also add fertilizer to my water, so I'm watering and fertilizing at the same time. And so far, my crown of thorns is going on 8 years old and it's been doing really well. I grow them in bonsai soil, which helps, keep the soil draining nicely. It keeps lots of air spaces in the soil so the roots don't rot. Yeah, so that's it for the euphorbia part of this video. It's time now for today's updates. My first update for today is news. My Sarissa in the Pyrenees style here has been accepted in the curated part of the Toronto Bonsai Society's Fall Show and Sale. So that's exciting. It's a big show.
They're making a book of all the trees that are entered, so it'll be very exciting to see my Sarissa in a book someday. Over here on the bench is my wisteria. So it's been growing really well all summer. Most of the branches have gone dormant now. There's one at the back here that's still got green growth coming on it, but I'm sure that'll go dormant soon. The nighttime temperatures are cooling off. You can see the leaves are getting their fall colors. And at the base here you can see all the thick buds that are developed for next year. So very exciting. You can see the trunk kind of thickened up. So I think I'll be root pruning it once again before spring comes. I've root pruned it 2 years in a row, and I think I'll just keep doing that because they grow roots so quickly and so easily. And it's nice to keep them sorted out so I get a beautiful radial root base on it. I've got my 2 cascade trees here, my lemon tree, which is doing really nicely, and my Chinese privet here, which you can also see is just shot out everywhere. So once the leaves fall off, I'll give that a prune. My other citrus trees, my lemon tree is, the leaves are fairly dark green on it, not really dark. My grapefruit tree, the leaves are a little lighter. It's got some new shoots coming in on it. And then my other lemon tree, the leaves are very yellowy. And they all get the same water, fertilizer, and care and sunlight. So I don't know if it's the pot size. You know, this one's in a smaller pot. It's a darker pot. This one's in a lighter pot. It's a little bigger. This one's in a deeper pot. And the Cascade one is in quite a deep pot. So, yeah, I don't know if it's the pot depth. It can't be the amount of light or fertilizer because they all get the same. So it's interesting. I'm going to have to research citrus bonsai or citrus trees and just see how to keep the leaves nice and green on them. I must be lacking something, maybe iron or calcium or some element that's kind of missing. My baobab style crassula here, or Jade, is leafing out again. You can see all the new shoots on it. So that's exciting. There's lots of branching coming on it after its last pruning. This is the one I got from Connor, the original one. It's off an old Jade. You can see the bark on it is very rough. So that's exciting to see it leafing out once again after its last pruning. It's looking really healthy. And these are outside still, even though we're getting cool nighttime temperatures now. They can go right down to pretty well freezing. The other large Jades I got from Connor, part of the original group, you can see all the new growth on it. It's looking really good. It's liking that new pot that Matt gave me. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, it's growing really well. Good to see. I also have my orange tree here. And again, the same water, fertilizer. It's in a, I don't know, medium-sized pot that's not shallow, not deep. And you can see it's really green. Nice and green and healthy. And I got these huge new shoots on it this year. So yeah, I'm still kind of scratching my head with the citrus trees. Now, some people said that in the comments that some lemon trees naturally have a lighter colored leaf. So it's possible this is a different variety of a lemon tree, that kind of like a variegated plant, that the leaves are naturally light. But I don't think so, because you know, some of the leaves are dark, and when I first got it they were all dark. It was growing like in nursery soil in a big pot. So I think, yeah, I've got to figure out what to do for next year. If anyone has any suggestions, let me know, because I want to learn. I want to learn how to keep these trees really healthy and green and growing really nicely. There's a meme on the internet that, you know, it says autumn on the internet, and it shows these beautiful trees with autumn fall colors, and then it shows reality and someone looking out their window and the trees street trees look like this, kind of rainy and gloomy and not nice fall colors. So this is my black maple. So it got some nice fall colors. They kind of turned a bit of a yellowy color and then they just go brown. So no super spectacular reds or oranges or yellows on them. Oh, there he is. Don't knock any more of my trees off, you. Oh my goodness. Hopefully he's got his spot there now. Here's an update to my Japanese black pine. So I top pruned it in the last video and it had no branches much down lower. And now you can see there's a lot of buds up top on it. I've got branches halfway up here. I've got lower branches. So I've got lots of branches to style it in the future. I wanted sort of more of a formal, upright looking pine. So that's good, it's doing well. I forgot about my pomelos, another citrus I have, and you can see the leaves on those are really dark green, probably the best looking of all my citrus. So I did some severe chops on all these seedlings, and not all of them survived. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that survived. I think I lost maybe 3 or 4 of them, but the ones that did survive are looking good. So, you know, I always tell people if you start with 100 seeds, 50 of them will germinate, 25 of them will make it through the first couple of years, and 10 years later you might have 1 or 2 of the original plants, and just through attrition. So I'm glad to have some good healthy looking pomelos. In the poly house here, I have my one aloe down here is flowering. You can see the flowers on it, which are pretty cool. My other clump of aloes over here got lots of flowers this year. You can see there's still one coming on it, which is exciting. Down here, one of my jades is in flower. You can see the white flowers on that, so that's exciting. Not much else happening in here, but just thought I'd show you the flowers. Over here is my asparagus fern, and you can see it's quite different looking this year. So what happens is, I don't know what you call this part of it, but it's like the growing part, and the rest of the trunk is just like the roots. You can see them growing down there. So I kept raising it up each year. So this part, it only grows foliage at the edges of it, so you won't get any foliage coming off this section of it. That's just like, I guess, I don't know. So it leaves kind of a strange looking plant, but I'm going to have to embrace that as part of the styling, kind of exposing this part and maybe having this as like windswept over here or something. Yeah, so I always kind of grew up the foliage to kind of disguise the top of it, kind of covering this section up, but the branches are growing down too low now, or the foliage, that I can't do that anymore. So some big changes coming for this in the future. There'll be a video coming out on my ancient old asparagus fern. At the last meeting of the KW Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society, there was 2 trees that people brought in, and they were going to go in the garbage if no one wanted them. So I took them home. So I have a Kentucky coffee tree here, just a small seedling, and this one is a, maybe you can read that. It is a Pitanga Eugenia uniflora. So I don't know what that is. I meant to look it up on the internet, but yeah, I'll have to find out what that is. So 2 new trees. A lot of the trees are losing their leaves now. You can see my maple here. My red maple is pretty well bare. There's just a few leaves hanging on. Yeah, it's kind of the time of the year where everything's shutting down, going dormant for the winter.
That was a look at my 3 euphorbias. They're all doing well so far. Keep my fingers crossed. and some updates to some of the trees. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.